All right, welcome back for the episode of Carnivore Trade. Today's Friday, December 9th, 2022. If you're not done so already, give it your thumbs up, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com for swing trading alerts and analysis. Speaking of, we took another winner today, another nice swing trade in the books on ERY. You guys are following who haven't been members, you can probably tell anyway that I've been not really liking energy up here. We had a short on effectively XLE through ERY and almost 18% on that closed out today. A nice little gainer. Great way to close out the week there. So if you're interested, come join. We're having a killer year and look to keep it going in 2023. Anyways, enough of the plugging. Let's get to the spiders here. So down 38 basis points right now. And really just a bore of a day, right? We're getting a little bit of a drip down here. It's 3:38 p.m. currently, and it's been a total chop shop. If I zoom out here, you can see it has been a complete bore here, really the last couple of days, ever since that nice dump that we had on Tuesday. So we came down there, pretty good dump. We had a failed inside bar on Wednesday with that close below the green bar low, and now we're just chopping inside of this red candle. So you could make a case that there is now, a bullish inside bar turning into a bearish inside bar. We talked yesterday about the hourly bull flag. I said maybe we'd move up a little bit in the morning and then possibly fade a little bit in the afternoon as you have kind of a 4-hour bearish, bear flag. So you had an hourly inside bar on the spiders, and then the big picture, the spiders had the 4-hour bearish, and it's starting to drip down a little bit. Let's not make too much out of it. Yeah, we're fading a little. Markets look a little soft. Obviously, we had the PPI number today. That was definitely a surprise. Markets were able to shrug it off for the most part. I think the market, and I said this, I say this a lot, in fact, that the PPI, I believe it should be a big number, but it's not. At least the way the market looks at it, it cares more about CPI. But PPI is the leading indicator, right? I mean, last March, March 2021, in fact, the PPI was the big kind of clue that inflation was coming in much hotter than expected, and that that was kind of what told the market. We initially had a little bit of a freak out on PPI back in March, if you'll recall. And then the CPI obviously came out, and that was, the leading indicator. But in any case, the market's focused in on CPI, which I believe is Tuesday. And then, of course, the all-important FOMC on Thursday. Dow getting a nice little dump here in the final half hour will be interesting because I've talked about this over the last couple of days, and we're looking at the diamond here. So that's 336.18. I'm going to put that on there. So we'll watch that. I should be able to get you pretty much taken into the close, but a close below that would negate that inside bar. So just be aware of that. And we already have, so the Qs have no chance of doing that today. But we already have the Russell, right? So the Russell closed below that green bar low, and it's continuing lower here. Should be a little bit of minor support at that 50 moving average. We'll see what it does Monday. But we have the Russell. We talked about the Dow transports, obviously, XLF, and the spiders did the other day, and now the diamond is right on that level. It's actually below it now, so we'll watch that later. So that's really a lot of, they're all kind of like one by one going here. So we're getting a lot of failed patterns coming through the pipe. Again, the semiconductors, still a strong sector. It is backing off now. We had a nice pump in the morning. See that little pump there on NVIDIA, made a higher high. And then it came back in as we were starting to dip here. We'll see if they save it by the end of the day. But interesting little dump here. Maybe investors not wanting to hold into the weekend. Not really sure what's going on here. Maybe just a little bit of options market game playing. There's lots of zero DTE stuff going on. I'm actually thinking about doing a video over that over the weekend, perhaps, because that has really been a driver here over the last the last month. Take a look here on the ES. Ever since I believe the 14th was the day that they allowed the zero DTEs on Qs and SPY every day. Wait, look where we've gone. Outside of one or two candles, this little pop here, this pop here, we've gone right back into this range. So a lot of game playing going on. By the way, next week is a quad witch. So that's going to be a lot of fun, especially because December is a leap option month. So that's on top of that. So there's lots of premium expiring in December. And before that, we have the Fed. And before that, we have the CPI. So it's going to be interesting. Interesting week next week. One thing I'll say from a technical standpoint, we're just looking at the ES here. We did come up and just kiss that 20 moving average and this kind of rising wedge trend line. And, we are kind of bear flagging beneath it. So that is a little bit of a concern here. Now, again, the CPI could pump us up. That's certainly possible. I've made that clear. But I think that based on the failure of this inside bar, or the daily close below that, that gives me more of a bias that we'll put in a lower high if we do pump up on CPI and or the Fed. So we'll see what we get moving forward. We'll check back in on the Dow later. We talked about the triple Qs. That is still kind of safe to a certain extent right now, as you do have that green bar still intact there. So the Qs are holding up okay, but you still have, macro picture, bigger picture, up move inside bar, but just like everything else, it does have that kind of micro bear flag here starting to form there on the daily. Again, this is just small stuff, a small pattern. It's nothing crazy at this point. And again, it could get wiped out by CPI next week. Who knows what's going to happen? Again, the volume is very light. It does appear the market is just waiting on FOMC, waiting on CPI here. And we're just kind of stuck here range bound. We're still dipping it down a little bit there on the spiders. Dow below that level now. So we'll watch that again going to the close. But again, volume's light. And, seasonality is coming into play here. But I think next week will be nothing short of lots of fireworks. So anyways, we mentioned the semis. So semis are also holding up decently. Still have that inside bar intact. Nothing really too much more to make out of it than that right now. It's holding up okay. If the market can get a bid, this can move up pretty nicely. Now, ultimately, I think the upside's capped. I mean, this 250 level, 245, 250 there's a wall of resistance up here. But for right now, the pattern's not broken and it's holding up okay. So we'll give semis the benefit of the doubt. IGV, definitely on the softer side. We've noted that over the last couple of weeks. Again, failed inside bar right there. That's the Powell pump day. And now we're kind of just getting this kind of dead cat bounce here. We closed below this pivot as well. So IGV does look vulnerable to me. So definitely be careful with cloud moving forward. Dow transports again. So we've been talking about the weakness here all week. We went down to the 100 moving average on Tuesday. It got defended, and now we're just bear flagging above it. So again, transports on the weaker side as well. Again, back below the trend line, and on the weekly, looks like we're just hovering on that 20 moving average. So again, that's kind of coinciding with the 100-day moving average there. But you still have technically you still have a green bar here, 13,475. So you're still technically inside of that on the weekly. But those daily patterns are very, kind of precursors to what I think can happen here. If you close below this level, this is headed right back down to that 200 moving average on the weekly basis. So again, be careful with everything right now. This market's very touch and go. There's light volume, so we can get moves, just like the one we're seeing right now, where we get selling out of nowhere, or buying out of nowhere, and then no follow through because of the zero DTEs and the light volume. So be careful with the market right here. Anyways, moving on to interest rates. I tweeted this out earlier, but I do have a pretty good sell signal on ZB. So that's the 30-year. That doesn't mean it's going to go to zero. I'm not saying it's an all-time short. I did pick up a small position in TMV, just full disclosure there for you guys. But I do have some proprietary sell signals on here. You can see it's into the pivot. And you kind of pierced that 100 moving average there on the daily, and it did back off. But I got some sell signals. It was too good for me to pass up on. That does lead me to believe that. So I know PPI came in hotter than normal. PPI is a leading indicator. So CPI could come in, cooler than expected, but PPI is the leading indicator. So it's a little bit of an interesting dynamic there. But I'm just trusting the charts here. So I do have a sell signal on it. It doesn't mean we're going to go to new lows, but it is at least worth a trade. It's a tradable level, I'll say that. So I do have a sell signal there on ZB. Again, that's basically the 30-year yield, and you can see I believe this is a monthly level. Yeah, so that pivot there. So this is a pivot before, a pivot high there, and I told you guys the other day, we're kind of back testing that level, and there's your pivot high. And now we're getting a bounce off that. So it might just be as simple as we're going to get a good bounce, maybe back up to the 3.8 area there on the 30-year, maybe even 3.9, something of that nature. That's certainly possible. We see the 10-year up as well. So again, that 100 MA getting defended after, I don't know if you guys hear that car horn, but getting defended after being pierced on Wednesday and getting a little bit of it. So yields on the rise here with the PPI number. And the reason I'm bringing this up really is if I'm right, and we do have, and I do have a buy signal on yields, meaning a sell signal on treasuries, and it is bigger than just a trade. This could be a precursor to some type of move next week. Could be somebody knows something about the CPI. Could be somebody knows something about the Fed. Maybe the market. I mean, the market's going to do what it wants to, no matter what. But just these little things I notice here, and I'd like to point them out to you guys. So, anyways, 2-year here. Sorry, that's the 30-year again. 2-year, again, backing off a little bit, down 4 basis points. Nothing crazy. For what it's worth, the yield curves are actually slightly better today. So 2s and 10s, 76 basis points, 3-month 10-year, 71, 5s and 30s, only 19 basis points inverted. And then the 10s and 30s are basically flat. But so a little bit of relief in the yield curves. Again, it's nothing crazy. It's still, the trend is still way down and they're still way inverted, but just worth putting that out there. Anyways, moving on here to home builders via XHB. Again, a little bit of weakness here, but this, like the semiconductors, is holding up well. And if the market does get a bid, this will be a sector you'd want to be long. Same thing with ITB, holding up much better there. We did trade this via nail a few weeks ago. Took a decent gain on it, but it's still holding up okay. Maybe this could be something to look to like hedge if you're trying to short ahead of CPI. So, I mean, it's, again, home builders holding up okay. You could still get up to 65, but it would require the market to really cooperate here. And I'm not convinced that happens, again, based on all the factors I've told you guys about that green bar. It's very, very powerful to me. Anyways, VNQ, basically flattish, down 1 penny today. So nothing more to make out of that. It still has an inside bar. But I think time is running out on it for what that's worth. XLF, we talked about banks yesterday, and they're getting a little bit of a fade here in the final, half hour. So here's XLF up and then kind of held up all day, and it's getting a little bit of a bid lower now. I see Goldman there dipping down. Goldman's got to hold. I'm short Goldman, just so you guys know. Members know as well. This has got to hold 358.52 on a weekly close. Otherwise, I've got another pretty good sell signal on it. Just for reference, I'll be watching that into the close. It's pretty close to it right now. I honestly did not expect us to fade like this in the last couple hours of the day. Let's take a look at XLV too. XLV taking a nice hit. So that's weekly, that weekly rising wedge there. It's flirting with that area, and it's getting tight up here. So XLV kind of peaking below that as well. But that's selling off nicely. JP Morgan also dipping down. Yeah, nice little dip there. So we'll see where this closes. But XLF coming under a little bit of pressure again to flip over to the actual XLF. Again, same kind of thing. So down move, failed inside bar, close below this other inside bar, close below this pivot, and now you're bear flagging on the daily. So financials continue to remain weak. Regional and big banks also weak as well. Not a good pattern there, not a pattern of strength at all on the KBE or the KRE. And broker dealers looked like they were going to start bidding up here a little while ago. Look, they were trying to get above those moving averages and now starting to roll over. So banks, it looks to me like someone doesn't want to hold banks into the weekend. And I basically did the entire video yesterday on banks and how this is a huge problem here. But yeah, nice rollover there on XBD. It'll have some support at 460 and that 50 moving average, but nice little dip there going into the close. All right, energy, crude hit the 70 level and got a nice little bounce here. I still have a level that's a little bit lower. You can see intraday, nice little bit off the lows. I wouldn't do anything with it right now, but it's hanging in there okay, even though it did have a nice little dump there off that 20 moving average. XLE, which I just closed a short on, that's actually finally getting down to my 82.50 level. So that was the original target here, and it was fighting around with that 83 spot all day, and I don't like to squabble over 25, 30 cents on an equity, so I was just like, we'll just take profits on it now, but it's getting a nice little dip here. This should have supported that 100 MA. Ultimately, I've got a better level at about 80 if you're aggressive. If we're oversold into that, I might even play the other side of it and just jump long, honestly. But we'll have to see how it gets into those levels. But you're also into that 20-week moving average, although this is a little bit more of a minor level at this time. But XLE kind of oversold here short term. But in any case, energy taking a hit, and that is with a hotter PPI print. So that's something, you know, typically I've obviously yields up, 10-year up today, and XLE down, crude down. That's something different. So again, I've been talking about things shifting under the hood, and this is what I mean. Like there's things that are changing. You know, we need to be paying attention to this stuff moving forward. XOP, nice dump on XOP. So again, it came up here and had a nice bullish chop, and then it started to break down. So that failed. Again, I think that wants to go to 120. And what I've been saying for months, guys, OIH 260. We're almost there. So, and I was saying that all the way up here. I said, look, this is going to correct. You know, it might get up to 320, maybe 323, 325, but it's going to come back down, and it's going to eventually retest 260. This might even get to 250. You know, there's a little bit better of a level there, honestly, but right in that range, it's only $10 away now. So OIH coming in. This is why I keep saying, banging my fist on the table, don't chase energy up here. And yeah. Nice dump on OIH, down 4.5%. And this one has held up well relative to XOP and XLE, but getting a nice little dump today, way below that 50 moving average now. So that wants to get into that 200 and 100 area there, right around 260. Nat gas filled the gap today, so nice little pop. We'll see what it does. I think it wants to put in a lower high currently. I'm not really sure what it does here. I don't have a trade on it, but nice little pop again off that 550 level. I didn't take it. You know, it would have been nice to get in on at 550. Would have made a killing, but you know, I just didn't have enough secondary factors. I had one kind of reason to buy it, one support kind of indicator, but nothing really else. And that's not good enough for me to take a trade. So, but in any case, NatCast, nice bid up almost 6%. Dollar index, a little bit still on the weaker side. So maybe this is still forecasting a little bit of a dump. I still think the dollar has a little bit more downside in it, and that could help equity markets maybe next week, but I don't think it has much more downside. And I think the dollar will be a buy, a very good buy very soon. Gold also hanging in there. Okay. Nice move, pullback. And it's just kind of flagging. It needs to do a lot more of it, but it's holding up okay. So again, we'll give it the benefit of the doubt. Let's take a look at the weekly. Yeah, you just ran up into this 50 MA on the weekly. Nice inside hammer. So this isn't terrible. This can actually go higher still. But for right now, it's kind of just backing off. Silver, same thing. Although silver got up to 24, exceeded my price target. I don't think it gets much higher though. There's a lot of resistance up here. So, you know, just to show you, we came down here in August of 2021, and we chopped for a very long time. And now we're overbought going into that level. So it's going to be very hard. Silver's going to have to do a lot of backing and filling. It's going to have to put in a higher low or correct. But for right now, hey, it's holding up well. We'll give it the upside bias for now. But I think it is a little overbought and a little ahead of itself. Platinum also, I just put this little wedge on here. So this is starting to wedge up. And it'll be interesting if this trend line, so this is up sloping, you know, if you come back, let's say you come up here and then you come back down, right in that 1,000 handle, perhaps, you could get kind of that, you know, like a double trend line support. So that could be an area to look to maybe accumulate platinum. So something to keep an eye on. But platinum having a nice day up 1.86%. It's holding up okay. Then copper coming into this trend line and the 200 moving average and backing off. So again, if it puts in a higher low or puts in a more bullish flagging, it can get through that. But for right now, you do have kind of a weekly kind of inside bar, you know, bearish consolidation here. And if we look on the monthly, you do have a little tail candle there, so that's okay. But again, big sell-off bar, failed bullish consolidation, and now it's backing and filling to the upside. So I think it's building a bear base here. But for right now, it's holding up okay. All right, lastly, let's do Bitcoin. So really kind of flat from yesterday, you know, nice move and just an inside day. All things considered, it's not terrible right here. Again, still has the upside bias to about 18,000 if it can get a bid. But again, big picture, big weekly inside bar. So just be aware of that moving forward. Anyways. All right, so market's closing about 2-3 minutes here. Let's take a look at the spiders. Yeah, nice dump. Okay, the Dow, wow, the Dow's below that level. Wow. I'm not sure what to make of this. I mean, it could just be some, it'd be interesting if we get news over the weekend here. I don't know if there's news coming out right now. I'm just doing this, obviously I'm doing this video live, but I'm just trying to think see if there's anything leading to the downside. XLV's getting a pretty good dump. I'm going to try and take you guys into the close here. Normally I just get out of here, but having a pretty good little sell here. Netflix was up really nicely earlier. That nice fade there. Let's see. Google at the lows. Tesla's holding up okay. And this is a nice dump. I'm not really sure. I mean, XLE is selling off, but it's not like crazy here. XLF, I mean, I have to think it's probably the fins. Industrial's coming in pretty nicely. Matt's taking a pretty good dump. Yeah. Yeah, that's a pretty good sell on the Dow there, though. Wow. So market's closing about a minute. And we're right there. They're gonna have to power bid it to save that candle. Got a minute 10 left. Let's check that. Let's check on Goldman here. Yeah, Goldman's still like $1 away from my level. It could get there though. I'm not seeing the big. I'm not seeing any sector really lead to the downside though, other than healthcare. XLV, strangely enough, is selling off pretty heavily. Clouds holding up okay. I mean, that's a good dump there for the Qs. It's semis. Looks like the bottom kind of fell. And Apple, that's, you know, I bet half of it is Apple right there. Apple with a little bit of a doji there on the daily. That's a pretty good fade though. All right, market's set to close in about 20 seconds. Yeah, the Dow is going to fail. Okay, so that has failed. So now, just before I leave you guys, it's Friday, so I'm sure everybody wants to get out of here. But that's another failed pattern. So right there. Okay, there's the closing bell. 336.18, 335.31. So we failed that Powell pump. So that's the Dow, the spiders, the Russell, the transports, and the financials have now all failed at that area. The only indice, you know, you got the semis holding up. The only indice to not do it is the Qs. So interesting little dump. I don't know. Maybe they're putting fear on the tape into the close. Maybe somebody knows something. VIX had a nice bid there. Let's take a look at the VIX as well. Yeah, not even really. I mean, it's up here and it's holding up. So nice little push up. Yeah, we'll see what it does next week. Nice little dump, though. At least we got some action for once in the market. But anyways, guys, I'm going to wrap up here. Enough of this. Let's get on with the weekend here. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com. We'll talk to you all next week.